Aldo Boitano, the CEO of CleanTech Lithium and one of the two co-founders. And with me is Steve Kesler, our executive chairman. So this company started in 2017. We got listed on AIM on March 17 of the year 2022. We have 3 projects in the lithium triangle. 2 of them are the more developed ones. I will go in details as we advance the presentation, but they are Laguna Verde and Francisco Basin in the interior of the Atacama region. And the third one is Yamará Greenfield project, who's a little to the northwest of Salar Atacama in the Antofagasta region. We have already 2 million tons of resource of lithium carbonate equivalent. And we're going to have further upgrades now as we already wrap up the 2 drilling seasons. And again, I'll go and speak in detail as we go forward. Something rare in the lithium triangle is something that we, when we came in 2017, we acquired fully licenses of 2 complete basins in the case of Laguna Verde and Francisco Basin. That's very important on our aim to be one of the greenest, if not the greenest, lithium producer of the world, with a combination of renewable energy and the direct lithium extraction technology that again I'll explain as we go further. And the fact that we sit at 4,400 meters with Laguna Verde and Francisco Basin, just limited flora and fauna, and even though we have an early engagement and very good work with indigenous communities who we drive through on site, they're not on site. They're a couple of hours away, and they're also some 2,000 meters below. We have very experienced board and management. Steve, for example, is a doctor in hydrometallurgy, and he developed the 2 largest copper mines of the world from early start into being the largest copper mines of the world in Chile, Escondida and Collahuasi, including financing and everything. And we got listed, like I said, on March 17, 2022. We've raised over 22 million pounds, and very excited. That's a resource estimate and the license area in the presentation. Some of the data that is available in our website. Just want to comment the fact that it's a combination of institutional money and retail. Forbes declares one of the 4 stocks to look in the future, and one of the most valuable lithium stocks, mining.com in the top 10. And we receive an award by the UK Investors Magazine as the best IPO of that year when we got listed. We are covered by Canaccord Genuity and Fox Davis. Canaccord also declares the top pick a mining energy stock to watch in 2023. Don't need to talk about the lithium demand and everything, other than we have a long-term price of 2,500 dollars for the ton of lithium for battery grade. That'll become part of the different work we're doing, and it's very conservative. Here we have in a snapshot Laguna Verde. We drilled in the previous season 4 wells. You can see the LBO1, LBO3, and 4, 2 and 4, who are those black dots. And now we drilled and complete 2 more. We'll have very, very soon an announcement of the resource upgrade. The important thing for consideration is that you want to have as much as indicated and measured, and that only can be done with further drilling in combination with the porosity pumping test, and at the same time the grade of the lithium that you find, and the amount of holes that you do. We've had some high samples at 409 milligrams per liter. Lithium is contained, in this case, in brine in the subsurface, 80, 100 meters below, in what is called confined or semi-confined aquifers. There's some geothermal activity here. This project, similar to the one coming after that, Francisco Basin, we're in the 2nd drilling campaign. We've done extensive work on the 4 study lines, baselines of the environmental work, the early engagement with the community, hydrogeological work, and in the case of Laguna Verde, we have finished the scoping study. The key metrics are here. More importantly is 1.83 billion. It's a $400 million capex for a plant that will produce 20,000 tons per year. And again, very conservative with the price I told you, 22,500, the long-term price for the evaluation of the project. We already started, and we aim to be finishing at the end of the year a pre-feasibility study with a Worley. All that will come into play when Steve explained the strategic view of the company and how we look forward to further financing. Already mentioned a little bit Francisco Basin. This is the new lithium discovery. We just with one well, we produced 500,000 tons of inferred resource. Again, we'll tell the market as we finish the drilling campaign and finish the sampling. Originally, we wanted to do 3 more wells. We ended up doing 5 more wells in the area, and again, hydrogeological work, environmental impact assessments on the baseline's finish and the continuation of that. And the scoping study will come later in the next couple of months, next month or so. We're fine-tuning that as the data is coming out of the holes and into the labs. And again, the idea is to move more into the measured and indicated category. How you do resource estimate with drilling and the grade, porosity test, pumping test, and then the actual extension of the drilling and everything. But another part, I'm gonna show you this in the Yamara project, is the geophysics. That's what you see them at the bottom. We've always done geophysics. It's a way of finding via transient electromagnetic work what's happening in the underground, 80, 100 meters below, and that minimizes the drilling and maximizes the resource calculation via a well or a hole. And that's what you're aiming for, that low magenta color that you see there. I mean, clear magenta color. It means there's high concentration of salt. It's a very salty aquifer in the bottom, and we're drilling there. We've drilled 500. I can't tell you exactly the number. It's not in the public domain, but we've drilled a lot in Yamara, and we expect this to play positively as we assess what kind of lithium is there. Want to just do a quick stop to share with all of you part of my dream as we go forward. From day one, and then I'll pass it to Steve to talk about strategy. From day one, because I'm a mountaineer, I'm quite famous in Chile for having climbed successfully K2 and other mountains, and my first time to encounter these mountains was through mountaineering. From day one, we seek to be green. It's by option. My background in renewable energy, I'm a civil industrial engineer. Books published on the topic of leadership and teamwork and sustainability, and the combination of direct lithium extraction from 2017-18 was not as mainstream as much of the projects in the world are going forward with that. And there's one vendor that we've partnered that it's leading the industry in this. But there's no conflict I saw on having a sustainable project to preserve the mountains, preserve the beauty, but at the same time help the world in the EV transition. So with my dream, I'll pass it to Steve, who has joined that dream and is part of the board. Steve?
Okay, we're unlike most or all lithium junior companies in the world. We have no offtake agreements with any battery manufacturers or car manufacturers. We believe it's premature. We wanted to spend our time and effort in developing the resource, making sure we have a good understanding of what we have in front of us across those 3 projects. Direct lithium extraction, it's not a new technology. It's been applied in other metals such as uranium in the past. It's only recently being applied into lithium to enable us to economically extract lithium from the lower grade salars. And in this, we're working with the leading Chinese manufacturer of resin, the largest in the world, $4.5 billion company. The only company that has actually brought projects into production using direct lithium extraction. They developed 9 projects and have a number of other projects in their portfolio at the moment. We have a pilot plant being delivered in August, which will allow us to demonstrate that we can produce battery-grade lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide. We'll aim to use absolutely 100% renewable energy, largely based on solar in the north of Chile, and there's hydro in the south of Chile. We'll complete our pre-feasibility study on the first project by the end of this year, and we'll again demonstrate the very solid economic fundamentals of the project, and we'll engage with potential strategic partners to come into the project, and those who want the offtake. And our quid pro quo here is: you want offtake, then you must mobilize the capital for the construction finance. Each one of our projects is about $400 million. Now, the pool of potential strategic partners has widened out. 2 years ago, it was only the Chinese who wanted to get into lithium projects. Now, today it's much wider. All the trading houses in Japan, in Korea, in Europe, the Glencores and others all want offtake. The motor manufacturers in Europe and in the United States are very concerned about being able to secure reliable supplies of lithium and other battery minerals. They're starting to go upstream. We've seen General Motors take equity positions in Lithium Americas. Stellantis has gone into Vulcan Minerals. Major mining companies like Rio Tinto have entered this space, buying into DLE projects in Argentina. So we will expect end of this year, start those discussions with strategic partners, give offtake contracts lined up with receipt of financing, and the aim is to go into construction and then be into production in 2026. So very fast from first listing to first production.
Thank you, Steve. Let me just already Steve introduced the work we're doing with this world-class lithium provider. We have a small-scale, lab-scale plant. Direct lithium extraction work, and we're working with that. We'll have commissioned in August a plant that will be able to produce significant amounts per month to prove the metallurgical process, the water balance, and everything. We're very early on. We started with this, as I said, with the vision of being very green in 2017. Again, direct lithium extraction means, as you can see in the figure, extracting the brine from the subsurface aquifer, taking it with an organic process, a mechanical process, with the help of an organic resin, take the lithium out of that brine, re-inject 100% of that. For that, you have to control the basins, you have to spend, as we're doing on hydrogeological modeling, and that 100% goes back, and then very little water is used to strip the lithium from the brine and then go all the way into lithium carbonate. About Chile. Chile, my home country, even though I've lived abroad many years, has produced a national lithium policy. We've worked strongly with the government. We are very positive about Chile developing new projects. We're looking forward for the final clarifications of the policy, where the private entities like us can submit applications for exploitation of their salars alone, but also to look into the incentives for the government to partner in minority stake with the entities that the government has already. There's only Codelco, who produces copper, and NAMI, who is a company that has a smelter and refinery capacities for the small and medium miners in different minerals, and that they have a history also of minority take. NAMI, for example, has a 10% on tech. Quebrada Blanca project, who's a project on copper, and has publicly made announcements of partnering with Wealth Minerals on a 10% stage in the development of projects. That hasn't happened because Wealth did not invest back then, and that was all of this is public. Me and Steve were the previous week in Toronto on the first time ever Chile Day in Toronto, where the second highest rank official of the government after the president, the Ministry of Treasury, along with representatives from the Congress and the House of Parliaments and different entities, presented Chile as a successful case of investment. And again, that the policy, once it's fully unveiled, it will help not only us developing our projects, but companies like us developing the government projects. Nationalization took a lot of the news around the planet. The government owns Salar de Atacama, who rents to SQM and Albemarle, and they're looking to extend the lease with SQM. At the same time, the government owns Salar de Pedernales with Codelco, wholly owned, and 5 salares with ENAMI. So we see it on the contrary. It's more or less a privatization, or the entry of the private sector into state-owned salars that they have. Steve mentioned that we aim to be in production in 2026. We have strong ESG credentials. We have a very strong governance. The money is tightly held in the UK from Chile with a large team that we now have on various fronts. We have to ask for we do every month a cash call and approvals for fund release for every project. We engage on several policies that will in the future allow us for the final certification of ESG. We endure several seminars and things, and again, the idea is to be, to provide battery grade lithium for the EV of the world. Steve, this is the last slide. I don't know if you want to take it over.
No, $400 million financing sounds a lot for a junior company, but when the project is as financially robust as ours, we think there's going to be strong appetite from commercial banks to participate in the debt financing. Potentially, we can support up to 75% debt finance. Clearly, strategic partners will put in their own equity participation at the project level and help mobilize the banks that they have relationships with. But there's 2 other dimensions here. The United States and the EU are very keen to reduce Chinese dominance of the battery industry. In the US, they have the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, which provides financial support to projects producing lithium and other battery minerals in the United States, or processing it, or buying it from free trade agreement countries such as Chile. Although there's no direct potential for debt financing from multilaterals like US Exim, there is the requirement that the motor manufacturers will need 80% of the materials going to their batteries coming from the US or FTA countries. So that gives them an incentive to buy IRA compliant material. Similarly, in Europe, in Germany, KfW have import credit finance. Well, they will finance 25% of the total contract value of potential sales of lithium into Germany. Similar programs in Sweden, Italy, and France. ESG funds are really looking for a home for their billions of dollars of investment money going into projects which can demonstrate green credentials, zero or low carbon footprint, low water consumption, and that which are environmentally sustainable. So we think we'll knit together a total package of finance to get us into construction, and we'll start doing this towards the end of this year.
Okay, let's kick off then. What is the average lithium sale price in general that you achieve, and how much does it cost you on average to extract the product?
Well, the price that we're looking on the long-term projections and the NPV calculations is $22,500. It's twice that, and by the time we did the scoping study, it was 3 times that. So very conservative. Any gain on that, it will of course increase dramatically the NPV of the project. We have an OPEX of operational cost of $4,000 per ton of lithium carbonate, and that's again a little conservative. We think it could be a little bit less. It's significantly less than the OPEX of producing by rock, and a little bit more than the evaporation ponds. But not accounted a big environmental footprint and the damage of the environment by evaporation ponds.
Okay. How should investors measure success of the pilot plants at the Laguna Verde project?
Well, we already are working on and we'll. It's part of a scoping study that we release a big RNS on the various energy use, metallurgical process, water use, and etc. We're updating that, upscaling that from a small unit into a larger unit capable of producing 1 ton per month that will be sent to battery producers and end users to even though it's 99.5%, we already produce 1 kilo of 99.7%. That 0.3 or 0.5% is important, and they need to test with the initial smaller quantities and then up. So by the time in 2026 we're producing, they can straight buy from us. So the success will be to produce those quantities and then being certified that it supports the production of batteries and other uses of the lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide.
Okay. What is your perspective on the outlook for lithium prices in the short and long term?
I'll defer that to Steve.
Yeah.
I have a view.
Okay. Well, the pricing has been pretty volatile. I'd say last year it was hitting $80,000 a ton. There was a perception there was going to be an oversupply of lithium. The price came down to $25,000 a ton. There's the recognition that that is not going to happen. All the analysts say that every single lithium project in the world needs to come in on time, to meet the lithium demand. Price has gone back up to over $40,000 a ton. We believe that'll slide back over the next 5 years or so to a long-term price, 22,500 or thereabouts, which is way higher than our operating cost.
It's a question here. These targets which are set, do you think they're achievable? I mean, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, in the media and the different governments about the amount of lithium which is required. And everyone's, as you say, in high demand to get these EV projects off the ground. Your targets you've set yourselves, is that achievable?
Yes, it is achievable. We already have an example of a factory being built in Argentina, delivered by Sunres, and it only takes 9 months to construct, and since the purchase order, only five months. One of the hurdles, it's the EIA, the Environmental Impact Assessment approval, has a big component of the indigenous communities consultation. But again, our early engagement process, where they have been visiting site before drilling, while we left, they've been educated with a small unit at the lab, and they have a specialist, hydrogeologists, geologists, environmental people, that we also agreed to early engage as we go forward with the EIA. That will mean a much speedier process. To compare with evaporation ponds, the whole process takes 315, 325 days, almost a year, from the initial harvesting of the lithium to the lithium chloride to go to lithium carbonate or hydroxide. The construction takes another year. Once we commission the plant, 5 months, we build it, 9, and we're producing. DLE takes hours to produce. So it is doable. We're working very hard on various fronts to be able to make that, and I think it can be done. We're the low-hanging fruit, the early win for the government, 20,000 ton per year production. All the checklist of everything that is important for the government in the future of production.